You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
Hey everybody, Dave here. Join me and my guests, Outpost 24's Laura Enriquez and Mikhailo Stepa, on Tuesday, May 13th at noon Eastern Time for a live discussion on the biggest threats hitting web applications today and what you can do about them. We're going to talk about why attackers still love web apps in 2025, the latest threat trends shaping the security landscape, how to spot and prioritize critical vulnerabilities fast, along with scalable, practical steps to strengthen your defenses. Again, the webinar is Tuesday, May 13th for our live conversation on the state of modern web application security. You can register now by visiting events.thecyberwire.com. That's events.thecyberwire.com. We'll see you there. And now a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud. Identity is the new battleground, and attackers are exploiting stolen identities to infiltrate your organization. Traditional defenses can't keep up. SpyCloud's holistic identity threat protection helps security teams uncover and automatically remediate hidden exposures across your users, from breaches, malware, and phishing to neutralize identity-based threats like account takeover, fraud, and ransomware. Don't let invisible threats compromise your business. Get your free corporate darknet exposure report at spycloud.com/cyberwire and see what attackers already know. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire.
Today is May 13th, 2025. I'm Maria Vermazis, and this is T-Minus.
T-minus 20 seconds to LOS T-Drift. Go for deploy. Roger, roll.
Rivada Space Networks has signed an agreement with QCon to power network expansion and digital transformation across Africa and beyond.
4.
AST Space Mobile has reported financial results for Q1.
3.
Crossbow Systems has raised $105 million in a Series B funding round.
2.
The U.S. Space Force Space Systems Command has selected Auria Space and Sphinx Defense to each develop and deploy a secure, cloud-based joint antenna marketplace prototype.
1.
The Defense Innovation Unit has selected 12 companies to join its effort to build a secure network of military and commercial communications satellites.
0.
Our guest today is Susanne Hake, Maxar U.S. Government General Manager. I spoke to Susanne about Maxar's Raptor system, which creates 3D maps. So stick around to learn more about that later in the show. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Let's dive into today's Intel briefing, shall we? And we have a slurry of U.S. military contract news to start us off with. First up, the Defense Innovation Unit has selected 12 companies to join its effort to build a secure network of military and commercial communications satellites. DIU's hybrid space architecture project aims to integrate civil, commercial, and military space assets into one integrated architecture to provide the warfighter with asymmetric awareness and improved decision-making at the edge. DIU says the project has the potential to increase network resilience by employing multipath routing of communications to optimize data transport and mitigate adverse effects caused by weather or other obstructions. DIU awarded new contracts to Capella Space, Edge Cortex, Eutelsat America Corp. Plus OneWeb Technologies, Fairwinds Technologies, AST Space Mobile, Illumina Computing Group, Lockheed Martin Space, Map Large, SES Government Solutions, SkyCorp, SkyFi, Ursa Space Systems, and Viasat. Get all that? They will join. Existing HSA performas, Here's another list for you. Auria Technologies, Amazon Web Services, Amazon Kuiper, Anduril, Astranis Space, Atlas Space Operations, Envale, Google, Palantir, Planet Labs Federal, Microsoft, and Spider Oak. The project is building the technical and programmatic foundation to pilot an operational hybrid commercial and government space architecture by 2026. The U.S. Space Force Space Systems Command has selected Auria Space and Sphinx Defense to each develop and deploy a secure cloud-based joint antenna marketplace prototype. And the prototype, known as JAM, will connect satellite operations centers to commercial and government-owned antennas in support of U.S. and allied lethal fighting forces that contribute to ensuring the nation's security in, from, and to space. The contracts are worth a combined value of $17.6 million, with Auria receiving $8.1 million, while Sphinx will receive $9.5 million. The companies will each develop a JAM prototype, which will demonstrate the core cloud-based capabilities to support an enterprise commercial solution with an emphasis on scalability. Space Systems Command is calling the award a pivotal collaboration between government and commercial industry, aimed at enhancing scheduling flexibility, improving system resiliency, and ensuring robust support for current and future space operations at speed and scale. Crossbow Systems has raised $105 million in a Series B funding round. The strategic portion of the round was led by Lockheed Martin. Crossbow and Lockheed Martin have entered into a strategic agreement allowing Lockheed Martin to accelerate Crossbow as a new independent supplier of solid rocket motors and other services for their existing and future programs. Crossbow plans to open a Texas Energetics campus located just south of Austin. The new facility will utilize the company's advanced manufacturing of solid propellant technology. AST SpaceMobile has reported their financial results for Q1. The space-based cellular network provider reported cash equivalents, and restricted cash of $874.5 million at the end of the quarter. They say they anticipate orbital launches once every 2 months on average during 2025 and 2026. The first Block 2 Bluebird satellites are expected to ship in Q2, with orbital launch scheduled during July. AST says it plans to activate initial cellular broadband capabilities across the United States, Europe, and Japan with AT&T, Rakuten, Verizon, and Vodafone. And Rivada Space Networks has signed an agreement with QCon to power network expansion and digital transformation across Africa and beyond. QCon is a South African satellite internet provider, and they plan to use Rivada's OuterNet to strengthen data networks in Africa and offer secure connections for industries like banking that need high-level cybersecurity. Rivada's OuterNet plans to provide secure service that aims to improve network performance and offer new business opportunities with multi-gigabit speeds and global coverage. And that is it for today's Intel Briefing. N2K senior producer Alice Carruth has more on the other stories that we are keeping an eye on. Alice?
Maria, we have included 2 additional links today in the selected reading section of our show notes. The first is on an education partnership between the Space Development Agency and the University of North Dakota, and the other is a story on Hungary's return to space.
Yes, and they have an astronaut going on the Axiom mission coming up. And please remind us where we can find those links again.
We include links to all the original sources of all the stories we mentioned throughout the show in our show notes, which can also be found on our website, space.n2k.com. Just click on the episode title.
Hey T-Minus crew, if you are just joining us, be sure to follow T-Minus Space Daily in your favorite podcast app. And also, if you could do us a favor, share the intel with your friends and coworkers. Here's a little challenge for you. By Friday, maybe show 3 friends or coworkers this podcast. The reason we ask is because a growing audience is the most important thing for us, and we would honestly really love your help as part of the T-Minus crew. So if you find T-Minus useful, maybe please share the show so other professionals like you can find it. Thank you. It means a lot to me and all of us here at T-Minus.
Hey everybody, Dave here. I've talked about Delete Me before, and I'm still using it because it still works. It's been a few months now, and I'm just as impressed today as I was when I signed up. Delete Me keeps finding and removing my personal information from data broker sites, and they keep me updated with detailed reports, so I know exactly what's been taken down. I'm genuinely relieved knowing my privacy isn't something I have to worry about every day. The Delete Me team handles everything. It's the set it and forget it peace of mind. And it's not just for individuals. Delete Me also offers solutions for businesses, helping companies protect their employees' personal information and reduce exposure to social engineering and phishing threats. And right now, our listeners get a special deal, 20% off your Delete Me plan. Just go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K.
Our guest today is Susanne Hake, Maxar U.S. Government General Manager. I caught up with Susanne at the Space Symposium to discuss their new Raptor program.
I'm Susanne Hake. I'm a Senior Vice President and General Manager of the U.S. Government Business at Maxar. So I oversee all of our U.S. government work. I've been at Maxar about 2 years. Prior to that, I spent about a decade at Palantir Technologies. So really have a background in, defense, intelligence, technology, and that's really actually what drew me to Maxar, kind of bringing my background in defense tech to this company and this mission.
That's awesome. It's got an incredible legacy, too, so it's a great company to bring that to. You all have some really interesting news with Raptor. This really caught my attention when I saw it. Tell me a bit about Raptor. What is it?
Yeah. So why don't I start with sort of the problem? Like, why did we develop this? Right?
Sure, if you want.
So if you think about sort of where modern warfare is going and the proliferation of drones and autonomous vehicles and UAVs, all of those are guided with precision GPS capabilities. And that's really important when you're thinking about what they're doing and kind of the payloads that they're carrying, the accuracy. But as we're using more drones and UAVs, our enemies are becoming much more sophisticated. So, our enemies are figuring out ways to use electronic warfare, spoofing, GPS jamming to, stop these drones from hitting their targets. So enter Raptor, right? So we see this problem. How do you, navigate in a GPS-denied environment? And Raptor is a software suite that can be deployed onto any platform. It's actually platform agnostic, so deployed onto any drone. And it allows you to do navigation in a GPS-denied environment. So it's interesting also for Maxar because what it does is builds on our 3D maps. So, we take our satellite imagery and we're able to turn those into very high resolution 3D maps. So all Raptor needs is basically the drone's camera combined with our almost 100 million square kilometers of high resolution 3D, and it can use that to navigate.
Is this globally available in terms of where there's just certain regions, or where is that working?
Yeah, our 3D is pretty much globally available, and we've already been doing test flights with Raptor both here in the U.S. and internationally. Because it's platform agnostic, we're also testing it with a lot of different types of drones.
Oh, that's really interesting. One of the things that really stood out to me, and this is admittedly perhaps a perception versus reality thing, is software is not usually the first thing I think of when I think of Maxar, so I was really fascinated by that play. Now, again, this may not be accurate, but that was just my perception. Tell me a bit about this being a software play. I just thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, so, you're right? A lot of times when people think of Maxar, they think of imagery, they think of pixels, and that's something that Maxar has been doing very successfully for over 20 years, supporting the U.S. government, supporting commercial companies, building out base maps, 3D maps, using our imagery for those more foundational use cases. Going forward, we're thinking about how do we transition to think about more operational and tactical use cases. And how do we use our imagery and our data in more mission solutions and outcomes? So I talked about 3D in terms of kind of using our 3D data to build out this Raptor software suite. But we can also use our 3D data in a lot of different ways. So we support an Army program where our 3D data is the base foundation to do modeling and simulation and training. So before a soldier goes out and does a mission or an operation, they need to practice, and they need to go into a virtual environment and practice. And our 3D data can help enable that. So it's a very different way that you can think about the 3D data being used kind of in preparation, mission rehearsal. There's other things that we've also been seeing demand for. So, we talked a bit about Raptor from an operational and tactical use case. We're seeing a lot of interest, especially in the U.S. government, for use cases like site monitoring. Wanting to be able to have both a persistent understanding of particular locations, but also what's going on. Patterns of life, object detection, change detection. So in order to do that, you obviously need imagery, but you also need AI models and software and technology in order to identify what is at that site, what's changed, alert a user so that they can actually make a decision.
That makes me wonder about commercial applications for Raptor, because as you've been talking, government customers, it sort of almost goes without saying, that makes a lot of sense for them. Thoughts on commercial applications here?
Yeah, we are seeing interest in the commercial market, as well as civil use cases and kind of humanitarian use cases, right? So any environment, I think, where you need to have drones, there's probably also other commercial, like delivery type use cases, really anywhere where you have a drone and you're going to have potentially some sort of GPS interference, which could be, probably nefarious in a warfighting environment and maybe just natural in kind of a commercial environment.
That's fascinating. Anything else about Raptor that you want to share? I feel like we've covered quite a bit of it, but I just want to see if there's anything I missed that you wanted to make note of.
What's interesting, as I said, about Raptor is sort of where it shows, I think, where Maxar is going and how we're able to take our data, our base maps, our imagery, and create new capabilities off of them. And I think what's interesting, too, about Raptor is it sort of plays into where I think a lot of the U.S. government is going, is thinking about sort of this digital battlefield, right? How do you use software and technology, but also create sort of a digital understanding of what you're doing and where you're going?
We'll be right back.
And now, a word from our sponsor, ThreatLocker. Keeping your system secure shouldn't mean constantly reacting to threats. ThreatLocker helps you take a different approach by giving you full control over what software can run in your environment. If it's not approved, it doesn't run. Simple as that. It's a way to stop ransomware and other attacks before they start, without adding extra complexity to your day. See how ThreatLocker can help you lock down your environment at www.threatlocker.com.
Welcome back. Now, I want you to imagine two spacecraft, 150 meters apart, dancing in perfect harmony around the Earth. No strings, no manual controls, just pure autonomous coordination. Does that sound like science fiction to you? Well, the European Space Agency's Proba 3 mission has turned this into a science fact. The coronagraph and the occulter satellites have achieved a groundbreaking feat, maintaining millimeter-level precision in formation flying. Move over, Blue Angels and Thunderbirds. The occulter led the dance, casting a shadow with its 1.4-meter disk. The coronagraph followed, staying perfectly aligned within this shadow to study the sun's elusive corona. The setup is allowing scientists to observe solar phenomena without waiting for natural eclipses. But precision like this does not come easy. The satellites are using a combination of technologies that include wide-angle and narrow-angle cameras, flashing LED lights, and a fine lateral and longitudinal sensor. It's a laser system that ensures that they're in sync down to the millimeter. And let's not forget the shadow position sensor, an onboard algorithm that ensures the chronograph stays within the occulter's shadow by measuring light intensity around its aperture. It is a little bit like having an internal GPS, but for shadows. This mission isn't just a technological marvel, it is a leap forward in space exploration. And by mastering autonomous formation flying, ESA is paving the way for future missions that could involve multiple satellites working together as one giant observatory. And that would be super neat. That's it for T-Minus for May 13th, 2025, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. For additional resources from today's report, check out our show notes at space.n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K and podcasts like T-Minus are part of the daily routine of many of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We are mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I am your host, Maria Varmazes. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
T-minus.
What's the common denominator in security incidents? Escalations and lateral movement. When a privileged account is compromised, attackers can seize control of critical assets. With bad directory hygiene and years of technical debt, identity attack paths are easy targets for threat actors to exploit, but hard for defenders to detect. This poses risk in Active Directory, Entra ID, and hybrid configurations. Identity leaders are reducing such risks with attack path management. You can learn how attack path management is connecting identity and security teams while reducing risk with Bloodhound Enterprise, powered by SpecterOps. Head to specterops.io today to learn more. SpecterOps, see your attack paths the way adversaries do.